Thank you for the time, and I struggle, and if you look at my notes, I've changed my mind about 1,000,000 times what I'd like to talk about. I'd like to first start with Director Radcliffe. I find it offensive for you to accuse me as a Democrat of not caring about national threats. I very much wanted to talk about those, in fact, had prepared questions in advance of this hearing about those threats, specifically about biosecurity and bioterrorism, but I don't have time to ask those questions because the threat is in the House. The threat is across the dais, and I need to ask these questions. It's my job to ask these questions of you. Because when I served in the military and I served in classified environments, had this happened to me, I would have walked my resignation in immediately. This is not okay. Communicating these sorts of things in Signal is not okay. Targets, times, those kinds of things are absolutely classified, and we all know it. I know it. These people know it. You all know it. And the fact that we're having to have these conversations now means that I can't ask the questions that I need to ask about things like bioterrorism and biosecurity. And so I'd like to put you in check as well, sir, because you can't assume who I am any more than I can assume who you are, sir. I would like to move my questions, however, over to Director Gabbard, because you are the DNI. You do have an obligation and a responsibility. I'm going to speak to you specifically about the fact that you have spent much of your 40 days talking about the importance of making sure that we don't reveal classified information, making sure that we don't leak information. You're a former battalion commander in the Army. I don't think that you would have necessarily appreciated the kind of leaking of information that I believe absolutely did happen in this Signal channel and is worthy of a further investigation.
Kash Patel just dropped a bomb on the Senate. The FBI boss fired back after senators pushed for an FBI investigation into leaked classified information. But is this demand really about national security, or is there something deeper at play? Today I'm breaking it all down. What happened, why it matters, and what Kash Patel himself had to say. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. So, what's this all about? Senate Democrats are calling for an FBI investigation into leaked classified information that allegedly appeared in a Signal chat. They claim this is a serious breach of national security and are putting pressure on intelligence officials to act fast. But
in fact, this committee established something called 50 U.S.C. 3235A, and this committee, on a bipartisan, apartisan basis, requires you, the DNI, to swiftly notify Congress and the Intelligence Committee if you're aware of any sort of significant unauthorized disclosure or compromise of classified information, which I would argue this has all of the markings of being that. And so if you, as the DNI, see such a thing anywhere within your organization's purview, you have the obligation to begin an investigation to report back to us on that. Would this seem to qualify to you as something worthy of that investigation?
Thank you for your question, Congresswoman. In this situation, Secretary Hegseth has the classification and declassification authority over DOD information.
This chat did not have the auspice of being a DOD chat. There was no such thing as labeling it as DOD. This was a chat amongst a great variety of people, and you, according to our law that we passed here bipartisanly, have an obligation when you think there has been a tangible, significant leak of information to instigate an investigation. Do you not think it's important to do such a thing?
Well, the National Security Council is investigating this inadvertent leak. And again, I point to Secretary Hegseth as having the classification.
I would argue that Secretary Hegseth, if he had the dignity that he needs to have, should be walking his resignation in, because I believe that his probably is heading toward being relieved of his duty based on what I think are significant and illegal leaks, most likely. I would like it if you would please commit to this organization that you will follow the law, and I would like it if you would also investigate what is likely to be more than just this chat. Because if there's one, there's more than one. If there's smoke, there's fire. Would you please obligate yourself and your organization to that investigation?
Yeah, Congresswoman, yes, I will follow the law.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Director Patel, I learned just recently that you only heard about this yesterday, which blows my mind since I heard about it 2 days ago, and I'm just a low on the dais, junior chipmunk here. Did you really only hear about this yesterday?
The exact timeline I'm not aware of, but yeah, I think it was yesterday or the night before.
And now that another day has passed, do you believe...
Well, actually, it was the night before the hearing.
Now that another day has passed, do you believe that it's now time potentially for the FBI to open an investigation into this?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Because you're the director of the FBI, you don't believe it's appropriate to comment on that?
Because there's a process in place, there's an ongoing litigation, and the National Security Council is reviewing this matter. And I'm not going to discuss any open or closed investigations.
That ongoing investigation, literally, the lawsuit happened today or yesterday afternoon, and the idea that you don't have an opinion on this at this point is frustrating to me.
No, it's not. I'm not going to prejudge any matters, and the men and women of the FBI will call the balls and strikes.
Reclaiming my time,
not
sir.
you.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have...
But Republicans are pushing back, saying nothing classified was actually leaked. No sources, no methods, no locations. So is this really about national security? Or is it just another political move? Kash Patel, Pentagon insider, didn't hold back when questioned about the so-called leak. He slammed the Senate's investigation demand, refusing to say whether the FBI should even get involved. Instead, he pointed out the hypocrisy, saying there's a clear double standard when it comes to classified information leaks in Washington. Where was this energy when real classified leaks were happening under previous administrations? Patel called out the selective outrage, and it's got a lot of people talking. But while Congress is fighting over this so-called leak, what's the real threat to national security?
Gentlewoman's recognized. You have 4 seconds remaining.
No, I have more than
You
that.
have 2
because
seconds
Mr.
remaining.
Patel would not acknowledge...
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, were there any sources described in the signal chat?
No, Congressman.
Were there any methods described in the signal chat?
No.
Were there any locations?
No.
Therefore, due to the fact that there were no sources, no methods, nor locations described in the signal chat, it does not make the discussion classified. Is that correct?
That is up to the Secretary of Defense determination.
The Democrats are obviously making the assertions that what was in the signal chat was classified and claiming that Secretary Hegseth put this war plan out to the world, which he clearly did not. Were there any names in the signal chat?
No.
Any targets?
No.
Any locations?
No.
Was there a unit name or a location of that unit?
There was not.
Were there any routes described in the signal chat?
No.
Wouldn't an operational plan contain that type of information?
Every operational plan I've ever seen has contained that information.
Thank you. Shifting to the real threats to America, the southern border. Due to the previous administration's open border policies, they allowed over 10 million illegals into our country. And during that time, there was 1,511 terrorist-related encounters at land border ports of entry, according to CBP. As someone who fought in the war on terror, I find this deeply offensive, that the previous administration would sacrifice the security and safety of the American people in the manner in which they allowed terrorists, criminals, and rapists into our country. In your testimony, you state, and I quote, "Based on the latest reporting available for a year-long period ending October 2024, cartels were largely responsible for the deaths of more than 54,000 U.S. citizens from synthetic opioids. A lot of those citizens are from my home state of Florida. Cartels, narco-terrorists, and other violent transnational criminal organizations have violated the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the United States and have also fueled human trafficking and the opioid epidemic that many of my fellow Floridians have witnessed for far too long. I applaud President Trump and his swift decision to designate the narco-terrorists and Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I want to thank each of you for making this a priority to fight against Mexican cartels, traffickers, narco-terrorists that have been responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. For every narco-terrorist and cartel member violating our sovereignty, poisoning the American people with fentanyl and other illicit opioids, know this: your days are numbered, and know that the full force of the U.S. government will soon address your atrocities once and for all."
Patel, along with other Republicans, pointed to something far more urgent: the crisis at the southern border. In the last year alone, over 10 million illegal immigrants crossed into the U.S., and among them were over 1,500 individuals with ties to terrorism. Meanwhile, cartels are flooding the country with deadly fentanyl, killing thousands of Americans. Yet somehow, the Senate is more focused on a private signal chat than the fact that terrorist groups and drug traffickers are pouring into the country. Make it make sense, and it gets even deeper. Patel exposed how the fentanyl crisis isn't just about Mexico, it starts in China. The chemicals used to make fentanyl are being shipped from China, processed by Mexican cartels, and then smuggled into the U.S. The question is, why isn't the U.S. government taking stronger action against the real players behind this crisis?
Director Patel, it's no secret that there is a growing presence of Mexican cartels operating fentanyl synthesis labs just over our border. Just last year, the CBP estimates that more than 21,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized at our borders. That is enough to kill more than twice the population of the world, of our country. What actions are you taking to strengthen the FBI's fight against illicit fentanyl within our borders?
Thank you, Congressman. It's good to see you. We have made it a priority at the FBI because fentanyl and illegal narcotics kill an American citizen every 7 minutes. That is a national security crisis, not just at the southern border, but at the northern border. And the Mexican cartels, along with their illicit partners in the CCP and other adversarial countries that are doing harm, are not just taking the fight down south, but they're bringing it up north. So we need to be more vigilant as to what's coming in through our northern border as well. Known and suspected terrorists are flowing in through our northern border more than they are our southern border, I would say, because of the successes we've had in closing the southern border. But when it comes to specifically to fentanyl, we are making, to date, since January 20th, 383 kilograms of seizures of illegal fentanyl, which is enough to kill 29 million Americans.
And other than enhancing border security measures, what would be the most worthwhile action the United States could take to eliminate the cartels and stop the flow of illicit fentanyl?
I got one answer for you. They're making the precursors in mainland China, and we don't have the authorities to go after that fight there, and we need to take it head on, because without the chemicals and precursors, there is no fentanyl, and they are moving that material around the world and into the United States too freely.
Director Gabbard, I'd like to reemphasize the threat that our adversaries are exploiting via fentanyl and other illicit drugs that are entering our country through the border and poisoning millions of Americans nationwide. It's essential that all components of our national security apparatus are united in their efforts to protect the American people and our communities from such harm. Is there any reason to believe that the Mexican government isn't doing enough to finally eradicate the cartels and other transnational criminal organizations operating just over the border?
Congressman, I can only speak from my vantage point. As was stated previously by Director Ratcliffe, we have already been introduced to and begun collaborating with our counterparts in the Mexican government. Could there be more done? I would say absolutely yes. I know that the Trump administration across his cabinet are looking at opportunities to be able to do that.
And Director Patel just hit on this with CCP and precursors, but to what extent have we seen other malicious actors worldwide partner with the cartels to infiltrate and target the United States?
Related to the production of fentanyl.
Yes, ma'am.
India is one of those countries that is providing some of those precursor materials as well as equipment.
Thank you for being here today. My time's expired.
Gentlemen.
Patel argues that Washington is too afraid to go after China, and that until we address the root of the problem, nothing will change. Guys, if you're still watching and want more unfiltered breakdowns like this, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. It helps the channel and ensures you don't miss a single update. So, where does this leave us? Kash Patel's fiery response to the Senate is making waves, but the bigger question is, will this investigation actually go anywhere, or is it just political theater? One thing's for sure, while politicians are busy pointing fingers, real threats are still being ignored. Let me know in the comments, do you think this investigation is legit, or is it just another distraction from the bigger issues? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.